Welcome to the Yorkshire Foodies YouTube channel. My name's Dave K. I hope you're all well, wherever you are, whatever you're doing. And today I'm going to show you how to make one of Italy's famous dishes, the lasagna. Now, not only is it famous in Italy, but it's famous all over the world. A lovely, fresh dish, full of life, full of pasta, full of minced pork, full of tomato, absolutely gorgeous. Garlic, absolutely lovely. It's a brilliant dish, great to share with others around the table, and it's fairly straightforward to make. There's not that many ingredients that you need, but there's a lot of preparation to do, and if you want to make your own pasta, then it tastes even better. So this is going to be a two-stage process. First of all, we're going to actually cook the sauce and the meat with all the garlic and the herbs. We're going to do that in olive oil. We're going to make it absolutely fantastic. The smell's going to be amazing. So follow me for that, first of all. The second thing is we're going to make our own pasta. We're going to use fresh eggs. We're going to use 00 flour. So I'll show you and walk you through what that process is. First of all, let's have a look at the ingredients that we need to be able to make this lasagna. Have a look. So we've got as ingredients, everything's here apart from obviously the stuff that we're going to need to make the pasta. But here we've got 750 grams of fresh beef and pork mince. We're going to need that. We're going to need half an onion. So we've got that as well. We've got some fresh grated mozzarella. Now there's quite a lot there, it's about 500 grams, but I don't think we use it all, but it'll go in the fridge. We've got some lovely cloves of garlic. We'll use about 3 or 4 of those. A few little Italian style herbs as well, which we'll use. Some lovely Napolina passata, that's really, really nice to go in most pasta dishes. And we've got an extra one here which contains garlic and herb as well in the passata. We've got some pepper, some salt and some beautiful olive oil which are given to me by my in-laws in Italy. We need a decent pan, which we've got one here. A nice chopping board, a decent sized pan. So what we're going to do is we're going to cook this sauce for about 1 to 2 hours in this pan. We're going to simmer it in a very, very low heat, which will just enrich the flavours. It'll reduce it and make it really nice and tomatoey and beautiful just to go straight in the pasta dish that we've got here as well. The other thing that I've forgotten to mention about the pasta dish, this is the one that we're going to use this year with the ingredients in it. It measures round about 12 inch by about 8 inch. It's enough to feed probably 5 people here. So hopefully we'll be able to make enough lasagna to fill the dish. Let's cut the onion up and dice it up and we'll get it in the pan. So the first thing that we're going to do is cut this onion in half, but the right way to get a fine chop on an onion is basically cut one side off first, straight down the middle, watch your fingers. You don't need that, you only need half for this lasagna. And then take the skin off, pull the skin back. So that'll expose the onion inside. You can leave that skin over the back side, and then what we basically do is just very, very carefully chop, not all the way back to the root. And you can then, once you've done that, all the way across, then you can use the front of the onion to just cut the small slices, the small sections, and that's all we need for this lasagna. That's all we need. That amount of onion is plenty for what we need. So then what we do is put them in the frying pan, and we're going to fry them off first. Get some lovely olive oil in there as well. There we go, put a decent drizzle in there. A little bit of salt to encourage the moisture to come out of the onions, not a lot. A pinch of pepper, or a couple of pinches if you want. Put them on the gas, and we can just start to sweat those out, make them nice and translucent. And then once we've done that, we'll bob us garlic in, we'll cut us garlic up, and we'll put garlic in next. So let's get the gas on. Okay, we put that on a high heat, get a nice wooden spoon. As you can see, we've been generous with the olive oil, but it's beautiful stuff, a lovely taste. And we're just going to sweat that out, make them translucent. While they're doing that, we can chop some garlic up. Being careful not to lose his finger ends. Make them nice and thin. I love the smell of garlic. The garlic is just amazing. What a lovely smell, especially when it starts to cook. Beautiful. Okay, let's have a look at his onions. They're doing nice. As you can see, they're just starting to go translucent. We don't want them to start to go brown. We just want them translucent at this stage. And then what we can do is put his garlic in there in just a second. Okay, so we'll turn the heat down again, and we'll just bob this garlic in there. Get every little last bit in there. It's gorgeous stuff. That's it. Just stir that in. And the residue of heat from that pan will just start to cook that garlic. Beautiful. Right, so what we're going to do now is just put a little bit of tomato puree in there. I'm just going to put a squeeze, probably about a tablespoon of tomato puree in there, and we're just going to cook that out. Just make it go into the oil. Now, we're not going to add any more salt at this stage. We're going to wait until later on for the salt. Just get that tomato cooked out in there. We'll take us pork and beef mince. We'll just turn the heat down, and we can just bob us pork and beef mince straight in there, straight in the pan, and break it all up. And what we need to do now just basically is brown this mince off. There will be a little bit of water that comes out of it. That doesn't matter too much. If we were making chili con carne or something like that, then we'd cook all the water out. But it doesn't matter too much for lasagna because we're adding passata to it. Just turn the gas up a bit. It's on about a medium heat. So we'll just keep stirring that around, and when it's got to a more of a brownish stage, I'll come back. So you can see now that all this is cooked out and just about browned off. There's a little bit of oil in there, but some of that's from the pork mince. You get that from pork anyway, it does tend to be a bit fatty. We can soon spoon some of that off if we want to at a later date. Next thing that we need to add is the passata. So if we turn the gas down, and we'll put the passata in there, and it's as simple as pouring it in. It's always best if you use Napolina or something similar, something really, really nice. You can definitely tell the difference in quality in passata. Put a little bit of water in there, get all that goodness out. And we're going to add this other one as well, if you remember. We've got this one here, which is the extra special from Asda, with herbs already in there. So we just pour that in there as well. A little bit of water. Okay, give it a good stir. Turn the heat up a little bit. And what we're going to do is we're going to cook that on a really, really low heat. Going to get it to simmer first. Once we've got it to simmer, turn it right down and then put the lid on. And we'll let it cook for an hour and a half to 2 hours. Sometimes I'd like to cook it longer. I'd like to cook it for 3-4 hours. Oh, we're going to put a few little herbs in there, but I'm going to leave it because there's already some in the passata. Again, I'm not going to season just yet. We put a little bit in in the onions, if you remember at the beginning. We can add some a little bit later when we taste it to see what it tastes like. So yeah, let that cook, get it up to simmer, and then we'll come back in an hour and a half to see what it's like, and then we'll make some pasta. So we're about an hour and a quarter to an hour and a half into this cook. This ragu or pasta sauce or whatever you want to call it has been in there about an hour and a half, and it's just going just nicely. You can see that looks so rich, which is what we want for as lasagna. So it's still a little bit too thick. What we need to do now is we need to reduce this down till it actually gets the right consistency. We want to lose some of that water so it gets a little bit thicker, and then we can use that in his lasagna dish. But that's looking really, really good. Let's have a quick taste. Get a spoon. Get a spoon. Let's have a look. See what it tastes like. Bit more salt. That's so rich. Bit more salt. Give it a stir. That's super nice, is that? Put a bit of pepper in there. Give it a stir, and we'll have another taste, see what it's like. Nice, is that? And by the time we've reduced that down and got rid of a lot of that water in there, the thicker it gets, the thicker the taste, the more stronger the taste it gets. Because obviously the water goes, and that leaves all the flavours and everything, all the garlic from the garlic that we put in, and the meat and the oils. Let's have a quick taste. Where's my spoon? Where's my spoon? Oh, that's better. That's nice. Right, we'll reduce that down then. We'll keep it on a low heat and let the steam come off it and get rid of that water. In the meantime, step 2 is to make us pasta. So let's crack on with that now. It's really easy to make, and I'll show you how to do it. So we need 240 grams of flour. 00 flour. I use this all the time. It's really, really nice stuff. It's Tesco's own 00 flour. And we need 240 grams. Now 240 grams will make enough pasta sheet for us lasagna for the size of the dish that we've actually got. 249 in there. I need to take a chunk out. Yeah, so 240 grams, 250 grams will make enough for that dish that we showed you earlier on. So we'll get us board, move his eggs over. Don't need that anymore. Now I could do with a bigger board, to be honest, but trying to keep it in one place, I'll use this small board and see if we can make do. So flour, make a little hole in the middle, crack one egg in, crack the other egg in, We just need to carefully just whisk, or rather get this wall built up round the sides. Do you remember, like when you were a kid, you used to build sandcastles? Same sort of thing. You just need to gradually introduce that flour into your eggs. Very, very gently, so it doesn't run all over the place. Once you get that introduced, once you get that flour in there, what a mess. Cooking's fun, isn't it? You've got to make a mess, haven't you? If wife could see me now, she'd go nuts. Right, so a little bit of salt, just a pinch, a little bit of olive oil, and that is all you need to make pasta. You need no more than that. There we are. Now, the chances are, with 2 eggs, depending on how big your eggs are, if they're big eggs, then you might not need water, but I think we're going to need a bit of water, otherwise it's going to go too hard. So get a bit of water on your hands. And just keep adding a bit until it's all mixed in. It will be sticky to begin with. Then the idea is to get this into a nice dough ball. Baking's great for kids as well. You get your kids involved. Not only are they having fun, but they're learning how to cook at the same time. So now we need to just knead it into a nice smooth ball. And there's enough pasta here, like I said before, to make enough sheets for the dish that we've got. There we are. Then what we need to do now is just let that rest in fridge. In some cling film for half an hour. I use IKEA bags and reuse them as well. Better than throwing cling film away. Put that in the fridge, half an hour. Okie doke, so we're just about to pull us pasta out of the fridge. That should be ready to roll now. The ragu, or the sauce, is absolutely looking amazing. I'll show you it. You can see how deep and rich that's actually going, and you can see it's reduced as well. You can see the level of the sauce has gone down in the pan from what it was last time. So what we need to do is we need to just keep that bubbling away. We don't want it to go too thick. We need sauce to cook the pasta. So we don't want it too thick. We don't want it all meat. We need some sauce in there. So we'll grab the pasta machine, we'll stick it to the bench, and then we'll roll us pasta out. So here's this pasta machine. Now I've had this quite a few years. It's a lovely, lovely machine. Works really, really well. Expensive, but I got it bought for my birthday quite a few years ago, and it's still looking just as good as what it was when I got it bought. So what we need to do is get this stuck to the bench with a clamp. Now I'll take this piece off because this is an additional piece that we use for fettuccine and tagliatelle. So I'll take that off. We don't need that, and I'll put that back on the shelf. You can see these rollers inside. This particular wheel on the side sets the width of the pasta that we want to roll. Obviously we start out with the widest width, set that. The handle here goes out on the side. Where is it? There it is, okay. And then we're ready to go. So let's get us pasta out of the fridge. Here we are, nice and cool. Need some flour to sprinkle on the surface of the work surface that we're going to work on. A little bit on the machine. And then we'll get the pasta out. Okay, get a bit on top. Now the reason for the flour is to stop the pasta sticking in the machine. Just basically, and then we'll cut it in half, and we'll do half at a time. Drop it into the machine. Need to get it fairly thin first of all, so it doesn't split, and then very carefully wind it through the machine. Okay, do the other one. Okay, we'll do it in 2 pieces, it makes it much easier. And we'll roll it through again. Bit of flour on. Okay, do the other one. And I'm going to make them fairly long because obviously the dish is quite long. So we're going to need some long sheets. Just reduce it down to the next level. You can see how it thins out as we go down. I think we'll probably cut this in half because it's a bit too long, isn't it? Now you might think this is a lot of messing about and stuff for lasagna, and you know, you think, well, I can go out and buy one and it's a lot easier. Well, it is probably easier. Well, it is a lot easier, isn't it, if you go out and buy one, but it will not taste half as nice as what this one's gonna when you finish with it. The taste is phenomenal. The ragu, or the sauce in the pan, is so nice. It's looking so nice at the minute. Okay. Here we are with this pasta. There's pasta sheets. We'll get the dish. We'll turn the ragu off. Now what you want to do at this point is, once you've got your pasta rolled out and you've got it the thickness that you need, your ragu's ready, or your sauce is now ready, what you need to do now is get your oven on. Okay, get your oven on about 185, 180, 185, and then that'll be nice and hot by the time that you've put your pasta and your sauces all together. So the other thing to consider is I'm going to make a reasonably plain lasagna. I'm going to use mozzarella and I'm going to use the sauce that we've actually made. But you can actually put lots of different things in lasagna if you want. I know people that use boiled eggs, you know, little bits of boiled eggs in there. You can put mushrooms in, you can put anything that you want in your lasagna. I'm just going to make a plain one. But just bear in mind, don't stick to plain. If you want to do something, if you fancy something different, some ricotta cheese or anything like that, you know, do Lancashire cheese, Wensleydale cheese. If you want to put a mix in, then go ahead and do it. It's how you want to do it and what you want the finished taste to be. So it's entirely up to you. There's no set rules of what goes in the lasagna. It's what you want to put in it. So I've got my sauce, I've got my mozzarella cheese, I've got my dish, and I've got my pasta here to one side. I've also got a decent kind of spoon, if you like, with slots in it, so you can choose how much sauce you want to put in this dish or not, as the case may be. Now don't forget, we need some kind of sauce to cook the pasta. We don't need a lot because it's obviously very thin. So the first layer that we need to do is on the bottom. So we'll grab us sauce and we'll just basically spread it out on the bottom. If we feel it's a little bit too thick, we can always put a little dash of water in there as well, if we want to. A little bit of mozzarella. It's up to you how much you put in. You don't want to put too much in, otherwise it'll turn into a pizza. So then what we do is we basically lay the pasta on where you want it to go, and cut it or break it off at the edge where you don't want it to go. If you want to overlap it, you can do, and you just build it up layer by a layer until you've got what you want it to finish off like. I generally cut little squares just to stop them little gaps. Okay, the next thing I do, basically another layer of mozzarella if you like, and another layer of sauce. Okay, again you can put it as thin or as thick as you like, but I prefer it fairly thin. If you don't put a lot of sauce in, then your lasagna is actually going to be a little bit stiffer when it goes on your plate. When you cut it, it's going to be a little bit stiffer, if you know what I mean. So get plenty on there. Next thing, another layer of pasta. And you can see what I'm actually doing and how I'm doing it. This pasta is so thin. Really, really nice. And I'm just bandaging it up. There we are. And more mozzarella. And more sauce. So as you can see now, we've put a final layer of pasta on top. We've put us mozzarella cheese on there. We've put the rest of the sauce, what were left in the pan, on the top there. We've put some little bits of Lancashire cheese on there as well, just to kind of give it a little bit of a different flavour on top as well. Now the next thing to do, the last thing to do before we put it in the oven, is get us bechamel sauce on. It's a fairly easy process. I'll show you how to do it, and we start by a pan on the stove and some butter. So let me get on with that. You can see how much I'm using. I don't really need to make tons and tons because the dish isn't massive. So what I'll do is I'll put a blob of butter like that on the fork in the pan. It doesn't have to be lower pack or anything like that. Any butter will do. Put a bit of gas on. And this is best done with a wooden spoon. So we just need to melt the butter in the pan, not to boil it, just melt it. And then the other thing that we need to do, we need some plain flour. Doesn't matter what it is, as long as it's plain flour. Get yourself a spoon. Now what I'd advise to do with bechamel sauce is that if you're not careful, it comes together really quick and it goes clumpy really quick. So the tip is really not to have your pan too hot. Just enough to get the butter melted. So I've turned the gas off now, and there's quite a lot of butter still in there. But I'm just going to let the pan cool down, because if we put too much flour when the pan's too hot, it's just going to clump together and turn into a gooey mess. And we're not going to be able to do anything with it at all. So the pan's not too hot, it's not boiling, it's not going to make the plain flour stick. So we get round about a tablespoon, just less to begin with. That's all you need in the pan, not when it's hot. And we just stir that into the butter and make like a paste. It's called a roux, really. I'm not putting no salt in it or anything like that. And that's all I'm going to do for that. Now, what we need to do now, make that smooth, and just drop a little bit of milk in there. Now, it doesn't need to be full fat. It can be semi-skimmed if you want it to be semi-skimmed. Just drop a little bit You see how much I'm dropping in there? And what I just want to do basically is get that butter and that mixture that I've made with the flour. I want to get it integrated into the milk. And if you've noticed, I've not got any heat on at this stage. I just want to get that in and get it nice and smooth. Don't want no lumps. Okay, and what I'll do is I'll put my gas on really, really low. As low as it'll go. That's it. I just need to warm this milk up in the butter. And I keep stirring, because when the milk gets hot, the heat will start to thicken the flour. Now I'm going to put, it's just starting to thicken up now, so I'm just going to put a little bit more milk in there. Now the consistency that I want is kind of soup, if you like a thick soup. I'll turn the gas up a bit. I don't want it to burn. If you ever use the old-fashioned method of making gravy and you use OXO cubes and plain flour to thicken it up, then you'll know what I'm actually doing here and why I'm stirring it so vigorously. Now, if you're ever making cauliflower cheese, if you're making, like the cheese sauce to put on your cauliflower, this is how you do it. It's the same method. All you basically do is put cheese in it. When it's just starting to simmer and bubble. It's just starting to thicken as this now. I've added a bit of milk in. I'll just put a bit more milk in and turn gas down. That's it. And you just basically, you can add some more flour if you want, but as long as you do it when it's cold or cool. And what I'm doing is just looking for those fine little bubbles. You know, those boiling bubbles, the simmer bubbles. Nearly there now, nearly. And you'll know when it's done because it'll start to bubble and boil. There it goes. You can see the consistency. It's done, is that now? I don't need any more than that. So now we'll bung it on as lasagna. Now, if you want to put more on, you can put more. It's entirely up to you how much you want on. Some like more on and some don't. So it's entirely up to you how you want it to finish off. Just spread it about a bit and it'll mix in with the cheese, and then when it comes out of the oven, it'll be tremendous. Absolutely tremendous. Here we are. And that goes in the oven at 185 for about half an hour. Let's get that in. Oh, that looks amazing. Look at that. What a Bobby Dazzler. Get it in. And that is your lasagna in the oven. I'll come back when it's done. You'll be amazed. So we're just about to grab this lovely lasagna out of the oven. Oh, look at that bad boy. Look at that. Let's put it on side. There you go. One lasagna. Now that looks absolutely amazing. But the proof is in the pudding. And let's have a see what it tastes like. Let's get it on some plates. Oh dear, that's nice. Anyway, it's goodbye from me. Another video done. I hope you enjoyed it. Lasagna for you, a very popular dish all around the world, and you can make it in different ways. It's entirely up to you how you want to make it. We've made it plain and simple, so it's up to you. You crack on, get your own done. Total pip.